After 2026, India will not change its borders, but it will change who controls parliament. This is not geography, this is power redistribution. This is power redistribution. The 1971 freeze is over now. The timer set by the 84th Amendment has run out. And right now, there is a major legislative shift being discussed. What is that? That is a proposal to fundamentally change how delimitation will happen. How delimitation will happen. Now listen carefully. UPSC will not ask you old static facts anymore. Then what will ask? It will ask you the idea of expanding seats. The idea of expanding seats. The possibility of using earlier census data, and why women's reservation is suddenly at the center of this discussion. These type of questions they may ask. If you are still stuck at Delimitation Commission 2002, you are already behind it. Today, we go one step ahead regarding Delimitation Commission and proposed 131st Amendment and the 2011 census, etc. First, let's simplify everything. What is delimitation? It's not just about map drawing or map redrawing of India. It is fixing the number of seats and redrawing constituencies across the country. That is based on population. And constitutionally, this comes from Article 82. For this, Parliament to make a law to propose delimitation commission. Then Article 170 is also stated for state assemblies. This is constitutionally comes. Now here is where things become interesting. The current constitution logic comes from 84th Amendment, which effectively says full seat readjustment happens only after the census conducted after 2026. Now what is being today discussed about what? A proposal to change this rule. The idea is what? Instead of waiting a future census, Parliament may be allowed to use already available data. And what is that data? That is 2011 census. But remember this very clearly. This is a proposal, not a confirmed constitutional reality. Let me make this very clear. UPSC will not ask what is being discussed in here or there. Then it will ask what? It will ask only about what is constitutionally valid today. That is only UPSC will ask you. Now let's come to the most talked about part, that is the number. What is the number? Currently Lok Sabha has 543 seats. What is being discussed? Expansion to around 850 seats. To around 850 seats. Now why this number? Why this big number? More or less 50% more than expansion. The first reason is the new parliament building is designed to accommodate a much larger house. And the second one is and more important for federal balance. Think carefully. If seats redistributed purely based on population, states with high population growth gain more seats. States that control the population lost relative power. They will be punished. So this is make a controversy between both South and North. Representation and resource both are linked to population. This create this creates tension between both South and North, especially in the South. So what is the behind expansion? What is the idea? Increase total seats so that growing states gain, but performing states do not lose their absolute numbers. Performing means they controlled population. This is not arithmetic, this is political balance. This is federalism. This is representation versus fairness. This is between fairness versus population. This is conflict now. Just to visualize, this is not arithmetic, this is political balance. Just to visualize this, from 543 seats to around 850, that is more than a 50% expansion in representation in the Lok Sabha. Think about the scale. Just think. Now comes to the commission part and judicial norms part. Now, who controlled this delimitation actually? Now, who actually does delimitation? A delimitation commission will do. What is the composition of delimitation? A retired Supreme Court judge, one chief election commissioner, and state election commissioner. And then this has associate members also. Those are MPs, MLAs. But here's the trap is associate members have no voting power. They cannot sign the final order because they are supposed to help to this delimitation commission particular state boundaries with geographical etc. Now comes the advanced part. That is what judicial review. Traditionally, Article 329 blocks court interference. But UPSC doesn't stay in the past. Earlier courts completely stayed out, but recent judgments have clarified something important. In 2024, in the Kishore Chandra Rathod case, the Supreme Court clarified something very important. This protection is not absolute. Courts can intervene if the process, when the courts can intervene, if the process is manifestly arbitrary. Please remember this point. Word manifestly arbitrary or violates basic legal procedure. So remember this very carefully. Absolute immunity is a trap in the examination. So now court can intervene when the process is manifestly arbitrate or violates basic legal procedure. So remember this carefully. Absolute immunity is a trap. Now comes the most important part where UPSC will try to kill your score for years. Different aspects use different census based. Seat allocation historically linked to older phrase logic. Boundary redraw 2001 census. Only geographically in 2011 2001 census. ST seats reservation based on 2001 logic. Older one. Now proposed to 2011 logic. 2011 census. It comes to women's reservation. After the particular delimitation, then will comes to the women's reservation part. Will will be effect. And now new discussions are trying to shift this framework. This is why confusion exists here. And this is exactly where UPSC asks questions. They may ask few prelims traps. Trap number one, that is, Parliament approves delimitation orders. This is the question. The answer is no, it cannot modify them. Trap number two, that is, President reviews delimitation maps. Answer is no, only notifies implementation date. The trap number three, Commission can add new tribes. The answer is no. That power lies with the Parliament. Every option will look correct until you read it like UPSC. This is exactly the type of question where serious aspirants lose marks. Not because they don't know, but because they mix news with constitution. India is a democracy based on population. But for 50 years, we did not update representation based on population. But for 50 years, we did not update representation based on population. Now think like UPSC. Let let's we understand, make simulation of MCQs in the exam simulated environment. The question is regarding delimitation in 2026. According to latest census, first statement, the second statement is post 2026 rule, the third statement is immediate reservation. The correct answer is 1 and 2 only. The statement 3 is the trap. Why proposal allows use of earlier data? Orders have forces of law. Judicial review is not completely barred. That is the trap. Now let me tell you something very important. Why this entire analysis matters. Because this not random content, this is exactly aligned with what UPSC is likely to test. And one more thing, MCQs, latest census is not correct. Post 2026 rule is correct. Immediate reservation is also not correct. Answer is 2. Particular MCQ simulation, but the proposed seats and the mechanism, this answer will be modified. So because this script addresses the interim reality, because this is not random content. Most standard books will still tell you delimitation must wait for the census after 2026. But what is happening now is a proposal to change that condition to allow the use of already available data, which is particularly on 2011 data census. That single shift can easily become a statement one trap in prelims. So second, the numbers, this is not guesswork. The 8850 seats, the idea of expanding representation and the approximate split between states and union territories. This reflects structural thinking behind expansion. And more importantly, it explains why expansion is being discussed. Not just population, but federal balance. The third is the judicial nuance. Most aspirants will stop at courts cannot interfere. But that is outdated thinking. In 2024, the Supreme Court already clarified something critical. This protection is not absolute. And this where you go one step ahead. And fourth one is the important one, the women's reservation link is based on this seats expansion. Most people study it as a separate topic, but in reality, representation, delimitation, and reservation, all of them are connected. And that connection is exactly what UPSC tests. So understand this clearly. This is not just about one topic. This is about understanding how the constitution evolves when policy, politics, and population all intersect. And that is how you prepare like an officer, not an aspirant. The delimitation 2026 is not just a technical exercise anymore. It is the bridge to women's reservation for effectively and comes to the force and to resolving federal tensions between the state and center, between the north and south. If you understand this, you are not guessing in the exam, you are thinking like an officer. At Metis IAS, we don't just cover topics, we decode systems one step ahead. The important thing is UPSC is not testing information anymore. It testing clarity. It testing clarity under confusion. This is all about delimitation 2.0, expansion of seats, delimitation. This is the revolution after 1971 freeze. So you have to be aware and very much careful regarding delimitation commission and expansion of seats and women's reservation, and as well as SC/ST reservation, and much more than important is census, 2011 census, particularly which census they will take into the consideration is most important for UPSC preliminary purpose. Thank you.